let's peek in on that area of the world right now. So, this comes the day after they had announced a total and complete blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela, a move critics and lawmakers are openly calling an act of war. The U.S. has already seized one Venezuelan oil tanker last week, you recall, escalating tensions as Trump labels Maduro a foreign terrorist, labeling his regime a foreign terrorist organization, and claims justification for this because of drugs and terrorism and human trafficking, or whatever, throwing stuff at the wall. No evidence needed, right? Venezuela, Russia, and international law experts are sounding alarms, with Caracas calling the blockade state piracy, appealing to the UN Security Council, and warning of regional destabilization. Now, congressional backlash is forming here. Representative Joaquin Castro says the blockade is unconstitutional, and lawmakers will soon vote on a resolution to force an end to hostilities. This fits a broader pressure campaign with tightened sanctions, this military buildup off the coast, lethal U.S. vessel strikes on what they say are drug boats, and legal moves to liquidate Venezuelan assets, all amid accusations of regime change ambitions tied to oil. Right now, we said that Castro was talking about a vote on a resolution to end hostilities. That vote was taken, and Congress, of course, squandered their chance to block this thing before going on vacation. Most Republicans and even a couple Democrats voted to keep these war powers with the president. So not great there. Maria, are you keeping an eye on this Venezuela stuff or nah?
I literally just sent you a comment that says I have nothing on this. And so, it's fine. It's fine. But also, I can comment on anything, right? And the answer is peripherally, right? I mean, Who's Raging American Power, I do want to say, is a nonpartisan group, but, are very state focused, right? So, but we also know the trickle down, and what affects, the whole country, so I keep an eye on these peripheral. And what I don't appreciate is, these big acts of violence that turn out to be based on conjecture and probably based on an agenda that we're either kind of aware of or not aware of, or will be aware of later. And just transparency is so important, trust is so important, and none of these acts, including violence, cultivate any of that.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Now, Dr. Rob, you mentioned that your political activism goes all the way back to Vietnam, right? And it seems to me like the Trump administration here is trying to manufacture their own sort of Gulf of Tonkin incident. Does that rhyme to what you remember from back then? Yeah.
And for people who are listening or watching who don't remember, there was this alleged attack by North Vietnamese boats on a U.S. Navy ship in the Gulf of Tonkin that was basically a created episode to justify the United States escalating. The United States was already illegally attacking and interfering in the affairs of a country and on in Vietnam. But actually, the things that are that are ringing more familiar to me is the build up to the Iraq War and how we were painting, the evil despot rather than Maduro. It was Saddam Hussein. but also even the use of the term weapons of mass destruction, which now are being labeled as drugs coming from Venezuela, although they're having some pushback on that because actually Venezuela, initially they said Venezuela was producing fentanyl, which is, there's no truth to that. And then they went to, well, Venezuela is sending cocaine to the United States, and there certainly is some cocaine traffic, but the last I saw, it sounds like it's almost all actually aimed for Europe. And so, but they're trying, they're looking for the same kind of language to vilify, demonify, both the Vietnamese, the Venezuelan threat and the bad guys in charge. And it's terrifying because one of the most terrifying things for me is that there seems to be no ability for the Republicans in Congress to put any brakes on this.
Yeah. And well, you mentioned the declaration of like these drugs as weapons of mass destruction, right? They're obviously trying to manufacture some sort of pretext to escalate here.